Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are diving straight into one of the absolute most misunderstood concepts in all of finance. We're going to uncover how the ultra-wealthy actually build and, more importantly, protect their fortunes. We're unpacking a financial strategy that, honestly, goes against almost everything most of us have been taught since we were kids. It sounds completely backwards, doesn't it? I mean, have you ever wondered why billionaires actively seek out and borrow huge sums of money when they literally already have billions sitting around in assets? Why on earth would you willingly take on debt when you're already incredibly rich? Growing up, we literally all hear the exact same simple rule from our parents, our teachers, and basically every financial guru on TV. Stay out of debt. And, let's be absolutely clear right up front. For things like high-interest credit cards, massive car payments, and payday loans, this advice is spot on. Taking on that kind of consumer debt is a trap that can lead to absolute financial ruin for decades. But here's the fascinating part. The wealthy do the exact opposite. They don't run from debt, and they for sure don't see it as a burden. Instead, they look at it as a neutral, unbelievably powerful financial tool. Actually, scratch that. It's more like a weapon that helps them accelerate their wealth creation in ways that just saving your pennies simply never could. So let's break this down. There's a stark difference between two types of borrowing. On one side, we have bad debt. This is when you borrow to buy things like the latest smartphone, designer clothes, or luxury vacations. The literal second you buy them, they lose value. They're just slowly draining your wealth. But on the flip side, you have good debt. This is borrowed money deliberately used to buy things like rental properties, businesses, or farmland, assets that either predictably go up in value over time or pay you a steady, reliable income. Picture this. Two people walk into a bank, and they both borrow the exact same amount, $500,000. Person A uses it to buy a fleet of luxury cars. Fast forward 5 years, those cars are basically worthless, and person A is significantly poorer. Person B, however, uses that money to buy an apartment building. Every single month, the tenant's rent covers the loan payments, and the property itself is appreciating. Person B ends up significantly richer. Same exact loan amount, totally opposite outcomes. You see, the loan itself wasn't the problem for person A. It all comes down to the fact that the wealthy never borrow money just to look rich or impress people. They borrow money to acquire productive assets. How that borrowed capital gets put to work makes absolutely all the difference in the world. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute. If a super successful investor has, say, 20 million bucks locked up in company shares, and they suddenly want to buy a new property and need 2 million in cash, why not just sell a little bit of their portfolio? It seems like the easiest, most logical fix, right? Well, the answer is super simple, and it's costly. Selling creates taxes. The very moment they sell those shares, they immediately trigger massive capital gains taxes. That shrinks their overall wealth right off the bat and rips that money straight out of the compounding process. So rather than selling off their hard-earned assets, they turn to the banks. Instead of selling, they follow this sort of hidden playbook that's often called buy, borrow, die. Step 1, buy really valuable assets. Step 2, go to a bank and borrow cash using those exact assets as collateral. And the bank, they are thrilled to do this because the loan is backed by tens of millions in real value. Then, step 3, never sell. This brilliant strategy gets them the liquid cash they need right now while legally delaying taxes, all while their investments just quietly keep compounding in the background. And all of this builds to what is arguably one of the most powerful concepts in investing: leverage. Simply put, leverage is using borrowed capital to multiply your potential returns. It's a real game changer. Let's look at how the math actually works here, because this is where the real magic happens. Let's say you've got $100,000 of your own hard-earned money. Instead of just buying a small property outright with that cash, you get a bank to lend you an additional $400,000. Combine those, and suddenly you have total control over a $500,000 property. Now, if that property rises in value by just 10%, you gain $50,000. Think about how incredible that is for a second. You are completely benefiting from the appreciation of the entire $500,000 asset, but you only had to put down a fraction of the cost. Your $100,000 initial investment just generated a massive 50% return, all thanks to the power of leverage. Okay, let's hit pause for a second, because here is the major catch we absolutely have to address. Leverage works both ways. Yes, it brilliantly amplifies your returns when things go right and the market goes up, but If the property's value falls, your losses become significantly larger too. There's no way around it. This isn't a guaranteed path to riches. It carries real, tangible danger. And that is exactly why these smartest investors out there aren't just taking wild, blind gambles. They meticulously reduce their risk by asking themselves 4 absolutely critical questions before they ever sign a loan document. 1. Will this generate steady cash flow? 2. Can that income actually cover the loan payments? 3. What happens if the market suddenly drops? And 4. Do I have backup reserves? They prep for the absolute worst-case scenarios before they ever start chasing profits. That's how they survive financial downturns, while the rookies just get wiped out. So beyond leverage, there's another hidden advantage quietly working in the background for borrowers. And that advantage is inflation. I know, normally as consumers, we think of inflation as the bad guy because it makes our groceries more expensive. But when you hold fixed-rate debt, inflation actually flips and becomes your best friend. If you borrow $1 million today at a fixed interest rate and you hold that debt for 10 years, inflation dictates that your $1 million doesn't buy what it used to. But guess what? Your loan balance stays exactly the same on paper. You literally get to repay the bank with tomorrow's less valuable dollars. Inflation just quietly eats away at the real cost of your debt, making it easier and easier to pay off over time. Now, before we all run out and start maxing out loans, remember this golden rule. Debt accelerates what already works. Trying to copy billionaires without already having underlying assets and strong cash flow is playing with fire. The rich borrow because they already own valuable things. When ordinary folks borrow just because they want assets they can't afford yet, it's a completely different and way riskier ballgame. Our source material actually summarizes this reality perfectly with a great metaphor. Debt is exactly like fire. Used correctly, it can cook your food, heat your home, and build massive industries. But used carelessly, it can burn absolutely everything down. Borrowing money to speculate on risky ventures or to buy luxury stuff almost always ends in total disaster. You have got to respect the fire. So how do you safely manage that fire? Well, financial education matters way more than the act of borrowing itself. Specifically, mastering core skills like truly understanding cash flow, practicing strict risk management, properly analyzing investment returns, and maintaining a disciplined long-term mindset. These are the foundational tools that separate the truly successful investors from everyone else. The big takeaway for us from this explainer is simply this. Debt isn't inherently good and it isn't inherently bad. It is just a tool sitting on a workbench. Its value and its danger depend entirely on the person wielding it. The wealthy just don't see debt as money they owe. They see it as capital that can be deployed to create even more wealth. As we wrap up, I want you to take a close look at your own financial habits and ask yourself this one provocative question. When you spend money or when you take on debt, are you acting as a consumer or an investor? Are you buying liabilities that are going to cause